Here's the part where I got lost. I was continually blinded because I thought the role of a wife was femininity, but it's not. Submission is a practice you do. It's a discipline to keep the house functioning as you move through conflict in relationship. And that's it. Submission is not special to marriage. It's how all organizational structures operate here on earth. Submission in marriage merely keeps the gears turning within the functional roles. There's nothing special about the roles in marriage. Anyone can do it. There's no relationship required for function to happen. You can outsource every single domestic function, and you can outsource provision as well. Just ask a single mom how much the government provides for her. But you cannot outsource the relationship between a man and a woman. When there's a conflict between the two of you, that's what's affected by sin, not the functional roles. And if there's no relationship being initiated by the head, as the body, you have to stop pretending that there is. If there's no relationship being healed because of a sin towards you in disobedience, stop pretending he's repented. You cannot mirror in relationship if there's nothing to receive and mirror. It's humanly impossible to be the feminine neged from Genesis 2 if there's nothing in front of you from masculinity. Allow the break in relationship that the man has created. That is what you reflect. And don't do his work for him. If he's a healthy man, healthy but difficult and dysfunctional, that means he's not skilled and he needs to figure it out. Give him the love, grace, and compassion and space to do that, because he will. In her book, The Female Brain, Luann Brisden-Dean said that males co-create themselves. When God has destined the sex of a person at their conception, and that person is going to be a female, she just continues to receive God's growing of her body, exactly the way she is. But if she's going to be a male, then something really cool happens. The unborn person's testosterone increases, and he consumes the female parts, making himself all male. God doesn't do it for him. The baby does it himself. So don't emasculate him by offering any help or suggestions or encouragement. If a man wants your help, he'll ask. Don't drop little hints or ask seemingly little innocent questions thinking you're being slick. Just because he's unskilled with a feminine heart, it doesn't mean he's stupid or unintelligent. He just happens to be clueless when it comes to you. A healthy guy doesn't want to be coached or parented by his wife. If he wants to hear more about making your request happen, he'll ask you. If you shared a request and he's still responding with a vague or ambiguous or contradictory effect or baiting in any way around the subject of your request, let it be what you feel and accept the reality of the experience. Stop being conspicuous or drawing attention to yourself. You do this by understanding and practicing grace and discretion. You simply and quietly increase your time with other friendships in your life. Or, in the case of extreme isolation, develop your hobbies and skills that build your feminine heart, mind, and soul. Invest with other people if you can, those who share your visions and dreams and desires. You'll have the space and the freedom to do that because you've assumed the best in him, like 1 Corinthians 13 tells us, and you've given him the space and the freedom to fulfill it. God gave me a love for teaching, writing, photography, sewing, and music, but I hadn't cultivated any of that for me. I had been conditioned. And just to be clear, when I say conditioned, what I really mean is coerced to cultivate only what benefited Dean. An example of this was during my homeschooling of the kids. I wanted to slowly work on my teaching degree part-time so that when I was finished teaching the kids, I could lateral into teaching outside the home. He said he wouldn't do any of the housework or take care of the kids while I was at school part-time. I agreed, even though it was unfair and things seemed settled. Then, out of the blue, there was this huge fight about money. He said that I had to choose my part-time school or the kids because homeschooling was taking all of our money, which it wasn't. By this time, I was creating my own curriculum, so I only spent about $100 a year of the house money on supplies. I used mostly my own allowance, and for clarity's sake, we weren't poor. He was in middle management by this time and was making well over $75,000. He just was keeping all of it for himself. We didn't have cell phones, we didn't have the internet or cable or a new car. So, my first step was to take back all that ground that I had given up during those years. All those gifts, skills, and talents that God put inside me. I had to begin to responsibly steward them. I had to do it for me, but also for Him, because it's Him that's the owner of all of those skills and talents. Matthew 25. What do you love to do? What lights you up? You've got to make a move in that direction, no matter how small. Now, admittedly, I did it wrong. I did it in anger and frustration. I believed He was supposed to do it. So my thinking was, well, if He's not going to build into me, then I guess I'll just have to do it myself. This is wrong and right. It was right for me to be responsible for my own likes and desires. I just had the wrong attitude. A man doesn't owe you anything to that end. It's a choice a healthy male makes as he learns about himself from being in relationship with you. A man joins you in building yourself. He increases your talents and skills. You train a husband how to treat you because he watches how you treat yourself. A healthy husband, that is. With a toxic man, he pretends to build into you, but then it's used against you. I started to teach myself photography, and it was great at first. Then it was used against me, slowly. I was conditioned to only go and take pictures when he was around. It got to the point where if I went out any time at all while he was at work, he acted like I intentionally waited for him to go to work. And it caused more and more and more fights. He used my God-given gift against me instead of celebrating it and building into me. The sliver of time enters here. That space of awkwardness between verse 1 and 2 from 1 Peter 3. I had quoted what Viktor Frankl said about the space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies our freedom and growth. In the same way, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that, even if some disobey the word, they may be won over without a word by the way their wives live. Here's your sliver of time, when they observe your pure, reverent lives. This is where you sit. This is where you grow and cultivate your responsibility of stewardship for you. My gift of photography was about me and God. Dean made it about himself. My lack of stewardship made me irresponsible with my own gifts and talents.